Hi children, in our previous session I have explained about distance travel and displacement, and also have explained how to find out distance and displacement. Now today let us discuss what are the difference between distance traveled and displacement of an object, moving object. Okay, so here distance traveled, as I told you, the distance traveled is the total length of the path covered by a moving object. What is it? The total length of the path covered by an object is called distance, isn't it? And then displacement is the shortest distance traveled. Displacement is the shortest distance traveled, right? And some more differences we have to discuss now. So as we measure length, okay, so the distance also can be measured in meter, kilometer. Okay, so the distance means that is the length of the path, isn't it? So the unit of length measure itself is the measure for distance also. Okay, so the distance can be measured in meter. Displacement also can be measured in meter. So unit SI unit of both distance and displacement both are same. Then what is the difference? Distance traveled is a scalar quantity. What is meant by scalar quantity? So the scalar quantity is the physical quantity which has only magnitude, no direction. So when we say about distance between school and your home is 20 kilometers. That means only 20 kilometer is the magnitude, not the direction. We are not saying the direction while not mentioning the direction while saying the distance. Okay, so along with the distance, no need to say the direction of motion. Okay, so the distance traveled is a scalar quantity. Scalar quantity means the physical quantity which is mentioned only its magnitude, by its magnitude, no direction. And displacement is a vector quantity. So what is meant by vector quantity? The physical quantity which is expressed by using the magnitude as well as direction. So magnitude can be, what is magnitude? It is measured. Okay, so 20 kilometer towards east. East is the direction. East, west, towards, away from. These all are direction, saying the direction, method of saying the direction. So towards east, towards west, or towards south, away from home, towards the school. These all directions, saying the method of saying the directions. So while expressing the displacement, we have to say the direction too. Okay, so the displacement is a vector quantity. A vector quantity is the quantity which can be expressed by using magnitude as well as direction. Okay, so two differences now we have explained. First one, distance is the total length of the path covered by an object, and displacement is the shortest distance travelled. Second difference mentioned is distance is a scalar quantity, displacement is a vector quantity. Now, in our previous session, you have noticed that distance cannot be zero, isn't it? From starting, if we started from the point and even though we reach at the same position, The total distance traveled is the sum of the length of the path covered. Isn't it? So it can never be 0. But displacement can be 0. You have noticed when an object moves from a point and it comes back to the same point, then the displacement becomes 0. So distance can never be 0, but displacement can be 0 too. Now distance travelled is always positive. Distance travelled is always positive. The length of the path covered will be positive. And the displacement can be positive and negative and also 0. Positive also it can be, and it can be negative also, it can be 0 also. So these are the differences between distance travelled and displacement. So let us see once again. I'll write it on the board now. Look at the board. Yes, children, here I have written the differences between this distance and displacement. Here you can see the first distance. First difference, distance I have written. It is the total length of the path covered by a moving object. And displacement is the shortest distance travelled. The second difference is it is scalar. The distance is scalar quantity. And in the displacement column, the second difference is it is a vector quantity. Now I have explained what is a scalar quantity and what is a vector quantity. The third difference, it can never be 0. Which can? Distance. Distance can never be 0. Distance never will be 0. Okay. It is always positive. So the distance will be always more than 0, not less than, cannot be less than 0. So it can never be 0 or it will be always positive. And displacement can be 0, positive and negative also. And fourth difference I have written here, the distance can never be less than displacement. You have seen distance travelled means total length of the path. It will never be less than displacement. But I told you the distance and displacement can be same, equal to each other. When it will be equal? Yes, if the object moves in a straight line, the distance and displacement can be equal. But distance can never be less than displacement. Distance will not be less than displacement. It will be always it will be, the distance will be greater than displacement or can be equal to displacement. It can never be less than displacement. And fourth difference, it will be less than or equal to displacement. So distance travelled. So displacement will be less than or equal to distance. So it can be equal to distance. When it will be equal, just now I told you, when the object moves in a straight line path, then the distance travelled and displacement can be equal. Okay, and it can be never, displacement can be less than distance travelled. It will be less than or equal to the distance travelled. Displacement can never be greater than distance travelled. Okay, so which will be greater here? Distance can be greater than the displacement, or it can be equal to the displacement. Distance will never be less than displacement, or displacement can never be greater than distance. So these are the four differences. Now tell me, what is the unit used to measure both of them? Just I have explained once it. What is it? Yes, it can be a unit of both the distance and displacement is meter, and the larger unit kilometer, and even larger unit, you know that light year also is the measure of distance. Okay, and these all you have to learn what are the difference between distance travelled and displacement. Okay, and Now you can see a car moving on a straight road. Okay, and this car from the origin, it covers 10 kilometer from the starting position. It covers 10 kilometer in 5 seconds. Okay, the car covers 10 kilometer in 5 seconds. So, if we divide this distance traveled by time taken, okay, the path length is 10 kilometer from here to here, 10 kilometer. So, the distance covered, this is distance covered by the time taken. So, the distance traveled by time taken, the ratio of distance traveled to the time taken, this is known as velocity of the object. Sorry, speed of the object. Okay, this is known as speed of the object. Speed. So, you have seen in a car, the speedometer. What is the speed? It is kilometer per hour written on the dashboard. You can see the speedometer, the device which shows the speed of the car, isn't it? That speedometer measures the speed of the vehicle. Okay, so that how to it is mentioned in kilometer per hour it will be, isn't it? How much kilometer it covered, isn't it? So here distance traveled by time taken is known as speed. Okay, so the distance traveled by time taken is known as speed. The ratio of distance traveled to time taken to travel to cover that much distance, that is called the speed. Okay, so speed, the unit of speed, SI unit of speed is SI unit of speed. SI unit of speed is meter per second. So that much meter in 1 second. Okay, that is SI unit of speed is meter per second. Now, if it is displacement, okay, instead of distance travel, if it is displacement, then displacement of the object by time taken to cover that much displacement is known as velocity of the object. Velocity of the object. So, velocity of the object is displacement by time and the distance by time is speed. Both speed and velocity, both the SI unit is meter per second for both displacement and by time or distance by time. That is velocity and speed. For both of them, the unit is standard unit is meter per second. Displacement is measured in meter. Time is measured in seconds. So the displacement by time means meter per second. The same way distance is measured in meter. Time is measured in second. So distance by time means meter per second. So the SI unit of speed and velocity is meter per second. So today, this my children, what is now you understood what is speed and velocity. Two terms you learned now, speed and velocity. Just today, for today, this much only children, and we will continue in the next class. You try to identify what are the difference between this speed and velocity from the by considering the distance and displacement. Okay, so you just try to find out the distance difference between speed and velocity, and next we will continue in the next session. Till then, bye.